When she pulls away or acts distant, it eats you up inside. You check your phone every 5 minutes. You wonder what you did wrong. You replay every word you said. You overthink her last message. You chase, you beg, you lose yourself. You feel small, unwanted, like you don't matter. You've been there. You might be there right now. But what you do next will either break you or transform you forever. Comment, "I reclaim my power," if this is speaking to you. Number 1, don't text too much. When she starts pulling away, acting like you don't exist, your first reaction is to try harder, explain yourself, clear the confusion, reconnect to what you had. But what you don't realize is every message you send during that emotional withdrawal confirms to her that she holds more value than you, that her silence means more than your words, and it instantly shifts the dynamic from equal partnership to emotional chasing, where one gives everything and the other sits back and watches your slow collapse in real time while offering nothing but breadcrumbs of interest when convenient. And the more you send those long texts, trying to make her see your worth, trying to remind her of what you had, trying to defend yourself from a breakup that hasn't even been spoken but is already being emotionally lived, the more you hand her proof that you don't have emotional control, that you need her to validate your existence. And it's not because she's better than you, it's because your inner world is completely dictated by her attention or lack of it. And that is a losing game, because nobody respects desperation. Nobody values what they didn't ask for. And when your value is not backed by boundaries, but instead gets thrown into messages she didn't even open fully, you create a cycle where every message you send is a step further from who you really are. A slow death of self-respect and silence would have done more for you than 10 paragraphs of explanation. Because when someone values you, they don't need reminders, they don't need pursuers, they don't forget how you made them feel. They just show up. And if she doesn't, you being available for the silence makes her feel she never has to fear losing you. And when she doesn't fear losing you, she doesn't value keeping you. So every single text you send in that confused, hurt, anxious state is self-betrayal disguised as effort. And the worst part is you know it while you're doing it. You feel the unease before hitting send, but you send it anyway, hoping to get the connection back. And then, when it's ignored or replied with, "Nothing's wrong, I'm just busy," your self-worth crashes even lower because you were not answered with the love you hoped for, but instead were treated like a nuisance. And yet most people double down, thinking more effort solves lack of care. But you cannot effort your way into someone's heart who is emotionally clocked out. You cannot convince someone to respect you while begging for attention. And what you need to do is sit with that uncomfortable feeling of being discarded and hold it without reaction, because that is what separates people who get walked on from people who walk away stronger when someone pulls away and you feel that urge to text. Don't, instead, write that message in your notes. Let your thoughts be witnessed by you, not them. Go take care of something real in your life. Redirect your energy into your space, your body, your money, your goals, because that same emotional energy you pour into someone who is ignoring you can be fuel to rewire the way you see relationships forever and turn this into the exact pain that wakes you up to your own power. Because once you realize that the more you try to chase during emotional distance, the worse the dynamic becomes, you'll start realizing that the only way to stop this cycle is to stop participating in it. And instead of trying to get them to see your value through texts, start building a life that is so focused and so grounded that any form of emotional neglect becomes irrelevant, not because you don't feel it, but because you've grown so deeply rooted in your path that one person's emotional weather doesn't shake your inner clarity. And that's how you become someone who doesn't chase, not because you're trying to play a game, but because you understand that your time, your peace, your attention, it's currency. and you no longer throw it at people who show signs of temporary interest but can't match you in presence and effort. So from now on, when the messages get cold, when the replies get dry, when you feel her slipping, do not react with more, react with none. Give it space, not because you want her back, but because you're choosing yourself, and anyone who wants to be in your life will meet you where you are, not leave you guessing in their distance. If that hits something deep, it's because you're ready to stop surviving emotional confusion and start living by unshakable clarity. And the Stoic relationship blueprint was written for that exact moment. It's more than a guide, it's a path back to yourself, built on timeless Stoic principles that strip away the noise, the second-guessing, and the pain of overthinking. And now, you don't have to sit and read it. You can listen to it anywhere, while you walk, jog, drive, or build. The audiobook version is available right now, linked in the comments. Ask yourself, how much longer will you keep repeating the same patterns? How long will you let their silence decide your worth? This book doesn't just give you answers, it rewires how you see everything. And once you own it, it's yours for life. Instant access, endless replays, transformation on demand. Grab your copy and let it anchor you back into power, starting today. Number 2. Match her energy. When someone starts giving you less, the natural instinct for most is to give more. Like, if you just love harder, care louder, show up stronger, they'll snap out of their coldness and remember who you are. But the truth is, the more you give in response to someone giving less, the more you confirm their power over your sense of self, and the more the balance tips in their favor, while you shrink into a version of yourself that is begging for validation instead of standing in truth. Because emotional imbalance doesn't begin when someone pulls away. It begins when you keep showing up at full volume to someone who's gone quiet, and whether she's texting less, canceling plans, withholding affection, or just seems distant and emotionally unavailable, your response determines the entire future of that dynamic. And if your response is to double down and try harder, you've already lost control of your inner compass because you're chasing what used to be instead of responding to what is. And the coldest part about modern relationships is that most people don't leave with words. They leave with energy. They leave with silence. They leave with excuses. They leave by doing less and watching. If you notice, and if your response is to match with more effort instead of awareness, you train them to believe that bare minimum is enough to keep you hooked. And the more consistent your energy becomes while theirs fades, the more you look like a backup plan to someone who has already emotionally unplugged but hasn't told you yet. And the hard truth is this: people do what they want. People show up where they want. People invest in who they value. And if she's pulling away, it's not an accident, it's not confusion, and it's not your job to solve her silence with louder devotion. It's your job to match her energy, not to be petty or cold, but to preserve your self-worth, because love is not proven by effort alone. It's reflected in reciprocity. And every time you break that law by giving more to someone giving less, you create a relationship of emotional imbalance where your peace is always at the mercy of someone else's mood swings. So instead of explaining to her that you deserve better, show it by giving exactly what you receive. If she slows communication, you slow your expectations. If she becomes emotionally distant, you redirect that emotional investment into yourself. And when you start matching energy, you don't lose people. You expose who's willing to match effort and who only stayed because you were carrying the weight for two. And that revelation is more valuable than the relationship itself, because it teaches you to stop giving to people who have no intention of giving back. It teaches you to see detachment not as a threat, but as a filter. It teaches you that matching energy is the most powerful form of self-respect, because it means you're present enough to notice the shift and disciplined enough not to fight it. And while most people get lost in overthinking, trying to decode mixed signals, trying to fix what's fading, you stay grounded by honoring what is. If she wants space, you give it. If she's slow to reply, you don't text twice. If she breaks plans, you make better ones without her, not to punish but to prove that your world keeps moving. Your value stays constant. Your life doesn't stop because someone forgot how to love you out loud. And the deeper truth is that most emotional detachment is a test, sometimes conscious and sometimes not, but it always reveals who's centered and who's codependent. And when you pass that test by matching energy, you break the cycle of emotional submission and step into the version of yourself that no longer begs to be chosen. And the transformation begins not in how you feel, but in what you do with those feelings. So the next time she pulls away, match that distance with focus, match that indifference with clarity, match her silence with presence in your own life. And if she returns, you welcome her into a space where your value has already been set and your peace isn't negotiable. But if she doesn't, you thank the distance for revealing the truth you needed to finally stop begging for the bare minimum and start living like the standard. Number 3, stay unbothered. You think you're losing her, but what's really happening is you're losing your grip on yourself, and that's what hurts the most. Not the unanswered texts, not the cancelled plans, not the change in tone, but the way you start abandoning your own peace to chase the ghost of who she used to be. And you tell yourself you're just trying to fix it, trying to reconnect. But deep down, you're fighting your own emptiness that you let her fill. And now that she's backing away, you don't know who you are without her attention. And that's the trap you walked into long before she ever pulled back. You thought staying emotionally open made you stronger, more real, more human. But staying emotionally wide open to someone who is slowly checking out doesn't make you wise. It makes you predictable. It makes you a puppet to her mood swings. And the reason why most people crumble in this situation isn't because of heartbreak. It's because they never learned how to sit with rejection without letting it shake their entire sense of identity. So instead of detaching and observing, they react and pursue, hoping that more love will fix the void. But all it does is expose the weakness she already sensed, the inability to remain calm when things feel unstable. And once you show that instability, you stop being a challenge, you stop being a mystery, you become emotionally cheap. And the worst part is you start performing, trying to make her see your worth through acts of overgiving, over-explaining, over-committing, hoping that being good enough will win her back. But worth isn't proven in panic. It's proven in peace. It's proven when you stop chasing and start reflecting. And staying unbothered is not about faking indifference. It's about developing real inner power that no one else can touch. It's about knowing that her silence is not your call to perform, but your opportunity to return to yourself, to get stronger in the solitude, to become emotionally unavailable to anyone who doesn't treat your presence like a privilege. And the way you start is by refusing to react to the emotional highs and lows she throws at you. Because the moment you stay still while she pulls away, you start gaining ground, not with her, but with yourself. And that is what changes your life. Because staying unbothered means you stop living in reaction and start living in discipline. It means when she acts distant, you don't spiral, you don't guess, you don't assume. You detach from the narrative and root yourself in truth. If she wanted to be present, she would be. And you don't need to analyze every word, every emoji, every behavior shift to figure that out. You just need to look at how you feel when you're with her now, compared to how you felt before. And if the peace is gone, you don't fight to get it back. You rebuild it alone, not because you gave up on her, but because you refuse to keep abandoning yourself every time someone else decides to treat you like a placeholder. And that's where power lives, not in emotional suppression, but in selective engagement, in knowing that not everyone deserves access to your vulnerability, And the more you understand that your presence is valuable, the more you'll stop allowing people to emotionally withdraw without consequence. Because the consequence isn't punishment, it's removal. It's you disappearing from places where you're no longer valued. It's you exiting with grace instead of fighting for space in someone's inconsistent life. And once you learn how to truly stay unbothered, you become untouchable in a world that feeds on emotional reaction. And she may notice it, she may not, but that's not the point. The point is, you no longer lose sleep over someone who stopped choosing you. You no longer let their silence create chaos in your world. And you no longer break your own boundaries just to prove you're good enough for someone who can't even decide if they want to show up. And when you master that, when you finally stop breaking yourself into pieces to fit into someone else's changing preferences, you step into the rare air of people who know how to hold peace in the face of detachment, who know how to sit in the pain without reaching for relief, who know that the only approval that matters is the kind that you give yourself. And once you hold that long enough, everything changes, because now you're not reacting to her energy, you're responding to your own standards. You're not chasing closure, you're creating clarity, and you realize you don't need her to come back because staying unbothered has already brought you back to yourself. Number 4. Improve your life. Most people wait for heartbreak to wake them up, thinking pain will automatically transform them, but it's not the pain that changes you, it's what you do with it. And right now, if someone's pulling away from you, ignoring you, growing distant, it means life is handing you a rare opportunity to stop making your identity revolve around being wanted and finally build something that doesn't disappear the moment someone's attention does, because attention is unstable, interest is seasonal. But your discipline, your focus, your habits, your self-respect, those are things no one can take from you unless you give them away. And too many people waste the season of separation by sulking, binge-watching, overanalyzing texts, obsessing over what went wrong, waiting for that person to come back and make them feel whole again, instead of using that silence as fuel, as a turning point to build a life so meaningful and full that their absence feels irrelevant, because anyone can act strong when loved, but real power is built in isolation, in the moments you stop relying on someone else to make your days feel worth it, in the times you force yourself to show up for your future, even when no one's cheering you on. And that's where you shift from being someone who's reactive to someone who's intentional, because improving your life isn't just about going to the gym or reading more books. It's about creating a reality that you're proud of, a reality that doesn't shrink when someone stops texting back. And if your goals only mattered when they were watching, then they were never your goals. They were a performance, and now you have a chance to stop performing and start becoming, not to get them back, but to get yourself back. The version of you that doesn't settle for halfway love, that doesn't tolerate disappearing acts, that doesn't cling to emotional crumbs like they're a feast. And the way you begin is simple. Choose one area of your life that you've been neglecting while chasing connection and dominate it. Pick your health, your finances, your skill set, your environment, and make that your obsession, because as you improve yourself, your value increases in a way that can't be ignored, not just by others, but by you. And it's in that rising that you finally see what you were missing all along. It wasn't their love, it was your focus, your identity, your momentum. And the most controversial truth is that some people only loved you when you were stagnant because it made you easier to control. And the moment you grow, they feel insecure. They distance themselves, not because you did something wrong, but because your growth exposes their lack of it. And that's why not everyone who leaves is a loss. Sometimes it's a gift, because their absence gives you the space to become what you were too distracted to build. And instead of filling that space with pain, you fill it with purpose. Instead of texting them again, you write a business plan. Instead of stalking their feed, you learn a new skill. Instead of replaying the past, you construct a future that makes you forget why you ever begged for someone who couldn't see your worth without you proving it every day. And this isn't about revenge. This is about redemption. This is about turning silence into strength, rejection into redirection, and realizing that your best self doesn't need a relationship to be activated. It needs commitment. And that commitment starts when you decide that from this moment forward, every ounce of energy you wasted on emotional confusion will be rerouted into becoming a version of you that doesn't just attract better, but demands it by the way you move, by the way you think, by the way you respect your own time and space. And soon you'll realize you don't need closure. You need consistency, and not from them, from yourself, because that's what this is about. Not healing so they come back, but healing so you never beg again. Not changing so they love you more, but evolving so you love yourself deeper. And the day you look around and see the life you built while they were gone, the way you walk will change, not because they finally saw your worth, but because you did. Number 5. Give her something to miss. Emotional detachment is only powerful if what you do during that distance makes your absence louder than your presence ever was. And most people get this wrong by trying to make someone miss them through games, posting curated distractions, pretending to be unbothered. But none of that works because people don't miss noise. They miss what felt real, what felt grounded, what had gravity. And right now, if someone is pulling away, drifting, acting like they don't care, you're standing in the exact moment that separates the people who collapse into panic from the people who rise into purpose. And the ones who rise don't do it to be seen. They do it because they finally understand that the energy they spent begging for reassurance could have built something unstoppable. And that's the shift you have to make right now. Not to try and look strong, but to actually become someone whose life is so full of direction, movement, power, and alignment that anyone who ever made the mistake of thinking you were easy to replace ends up haunted by the reality that you never needed to be chosen in the first place. You were just giving someone access to something they didn't know how to value, and you're not making them miss you by being silent. You're making them miss you by becoming undeniable. And that begins the moment you stop trying to force a connection and start building a reality where your standards build your circle, not your loneliness. And that means you take this emotional gap and fill it with every single thing that you've been postponing, ignoring, neglecting because you were too focused on them. It means you use the urge to reach out as fuel to reach in, to dig deeper into the discipline you abandoned, the growth you delayed, the projects you left halfway, because your heart got caught up in keeping someone who wasn't fighting to keep you. And you don't grow louder on social media. You grow deeper in your world, where no one sees the grind, but everyone feels the results when you walk in the room. And yes, people notice when you elevate. They notice when you stop complaining and start creating. They notice when you no longer need their reply to feel valuable. And that silence becomes heavy, not because you're playing a game, but because your life is no longer orbiting theirs. And that shift is felt whether they speak on it or not. And it's not just her. It's everyone who underestimated you, who thought they could withdraw love without consequence, and you're not punishing them by growing. You're saving yourself. And in doing so, you create something stronger than attraction. You create regret. And that regret only comes when someone realizes they didn't just lose a connection, they lost an experience, a standard, a presence, and people don't regret losing the desperate, reactive version of you. They regret losing the version that chose themselves over chaos. And the way you build that version is by treating your life like it matters more than being liked, more than being answered, more than being remembered. And when you make that choice, you become someone who no longer waits to be missed. You become someone impossible to forget. Not because you're loud, but because you became so complete, so locked into your purpose. That losing you becomes a moment people replay in their mind, not because you reminded them, but because you never had to. And that's what giving them something to miss really means. Not putting your life on pause, hoping they notice, but hitting play on everything you've been holding back and letting your discipline speak louder than your desperation ever did. Number 6. Know your value. The way someone treats you when they think you won't walk away tells you everything about how they truly see your worth. And if you find yourself in a place where you're constantly proving yourself, explaining yourself, chasing down clarity, then you're not in a relationship. You're in an emotional negotiation where your self-respect is slowly being traded for temporary validation, and the harsh truth most people avoid facing is that if someone can emotionally disappear and return whenever they want without consequences, you're not being loved, you're being tolerated, and staying in that place hoping they'll eventually wake up and see your value is the slowest way to lose who you are, because value isn't proven through endurance. It's enforced through boundaries, and every time you stay quiet when disrespected, every time you let mixed signals slide, every time you reward their absence with more affection, you teach them that you can be handled casually, and the more they sense that, the more they push the line, not because they're evil, but because people naturally test the limits of what they can get away with, and your lack of standards becomes an invitation for mistreatment, not because you don't deserve better, but because you never made better a requirement. And this is where knowing your value becomes everything, not just some Instagram quote, but a deep, non-negotiable identity that governs how you let people treat you. And to know your value is to act like your time is currency, your attention is sacred, and your presence is not free to people who drain more than they give. And it starts by looking at where in your life you've lowered the bar to keep someone around, where you've silenced yourself to maintain peace, where you've begged instead of walked. Because every time you do that, you don't just lose power. You reinforce a version of yourself that is conditional, dependent, and emotionally fragile. And you can't expect someone to see your worth when you keep presenting it like a discount. So instead of asking them to treat you better, start treating yourself better. Raise the bar so high that only people with real depth, real consistency, real effort can reach it. And that means no more justifying low effort, no more texting people who don't initiate, no more tolerating connections that exhaust your spirit, because knowing your value means you choose peace over potential, reality over hope, and standards over fear of being alone. And in that choice, you'll discover a new kind of power, the kind that makes people step up or step out. And either way, you win, because you're no longer chasing someone to see what's already obvious to you. And yes, some people will say you've changed. Some will say you're cold. Some will say you're selfish. But that's only because your boundaries now expose their lack of intention, and your refusal to beg makes them uncomfortable, and you don't shrink for their comfort. You rise in your clarity, and you keep rising until the thought of ever being treated like an option again becomes laughable. Not because you're bitter, but because you finally see how low you used to reach just to feel seen. And now that you see yourself fully, there's no going back to half-love, breadcrumb affection, or emotional inconsistency, because you've become unavailable to chaos, unavailable to games, unavailable to anything that doesn't mirror the value you now live by. And people feel that shift. They feel it in the way you don't reply to nonsense, in the way you don't chase closure, in the way you walk away without explaining, because the person who knows their value never begs to be chosen. They choose themselves so powerfully that others have no choice but to rise or disappear. And that's how you change your entire life. Not by fixing them, but by finally becoming someone who doesn't settle for being halfway loved when they're capable of experiencing a full life without compromise. If you've made it this far, it means you're done living in confusion, done begging for breadcrumbs, done letting someone else's silence define your worth. And the Stoic Relationship Blueprint is exactly what you've been needing. This isn't a book they want you to read, because once you do, you stop chasing, you stop breaking, and you start leading. Society thrives on men staying lost, emotional, reactive. But this book ends that. It's filled with timeless Stoic principles that will rebuild you from the inside out. And now, it's available as an audiobook. You can listen to it while walking, working, lifting, evolving. It's linked in the comments. Once it's yours forever. Your armor, your compass, your edge. Comment, "I'm done chasing," if you're ready to level up. Like this video. Subscribe to help other men escape the trap and save years of regret.